Welcome to Season 3 of John McGivern's Main Streets.
Oh, I feel almost pretty.
The Main Streets podcast takes you behind the scenes of this popular TV program. As we explore great communities across the Midwest on the show each week, you can come here to get the inside scoop from host John and Emmy and the Main Streets producer and director Lois Maurer. Listen in as they recount some of their favorite memories from filming and the interesting stories that you won't find anywhere else. We've got lots to share with you from John McGivern's Main Street Season 3. To watch the show, check your local listings. It's also available to stream on the free PBS video app on Roku, Apple TV, and other digital devices, smart TVs, and everywhere you stream TV. John McGivern's Main Streets is produced by Plum Media in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
We're back for another podcast. It's John McGivern. I'm here with Emmy Fake, the co-host of this show, and our producer, Lois Maurer. This week, we're talking Red Wing, Minnesota. And can I tell you what I remember most?
What?
Flowers. It was the most beautifully flowered community that we visited all summer. I'm just going to say, I'm going to give them the prize.
It was beautiful.
Wasn't it beautiful?
I always wonder how they do that. Mine don't look like that.
And they had those huge baskets all over town, all over main streets. And they had that, we finally figured out that they have a cart that the woman comes and she's got a huge laddered hose and that's her job. And she does the even side. Isn't that what she said?
Right, and there's another one.
Somebody else comes and does the odd side.
Oh, and you talked to her?
Yeah, I think ended up...
Brian,
our
Shooter
photographer,
ended up talking to her, went over there and said, hey, and so we shot that. You'll see it in the episode. You just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, those baskets were out of this world. And then didn't you end up finding the nursery where they came from?
We did, didn't we? Yeah, we passed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
We
Absolutely
could have
gorgeous.
gone home with the same baskets, you realize.
But they wouldn't even fit in our car.
Room.
They were so big.
Yeah. And it's funny because we all summer we compare, don't we? We talk about what's going on in this town flower-wise.
Yes.
And this was the winner.
Yes,
12 episodes or 12 communities and Red Wing is the winner,
Yes.
I think.
There was a few close seconds, but definitely they take the cake.
Mm-hmm. Before you got there, what were you expecting?
Shoes.
Yes. Boots. I thought boots, yes.
Pottery.
Yeah, because you knew that history of Red Wing.
I did.
Yeah.
Red Wing is those huge crock potteries that were turn of the century that people used before refrigeration. They used these big crocks to keep things cool.
Do you have any of these Crocs?
I don't. They're way too. What's the word? They're
Fragile?
they're not. No, they're not fragile at all. In fact, they're really sturdy, sort of
Super
sort
heavy.
of industrial-looking pots for me. I
That's
need
what I
something
thought.
with a little flair. I need something fancy.
Well, color.
I have a good Red Wing, wow. Red Wing Croc story. My parents gave my sisters and I all a red, don't make me say it again, wing Croc. When we were, I think, maybe in high school, and they saved it for us. And so they gave it to us, I think, when Seth and I got married. And when we moved into our current house, the movers broke it.
No.
And we didn't know until it was like, in pieces on the bottom. The bottom part of the Croc was all in pieces. And so now we are making what used to hold all of our blankets, in the living room when you want to just be cozy. It's now going to be like a little... I'm going to put it in a garden once I, get said garden done.
Yeah.
And like have some, plants around it. Because then you can still use it, but the bottom is out of it. So that's my Red
And you
Wing
realize
story.
that those are the kind of things that people insure. So you should have had that insured, and you could have collected on that because those things are worth a lot of money.
A lot of money.
A lot of money.
Right. And then, the quick iPad that they pass you before the movers come, and they're like, oh, just sign this. Apparently I was signing all my, my life away, but didn't quite read all the small fine print.
Didn't you hear them yelling or in the truck, laughing, going, sucker?
Yeah, right. No, because I wasn't in the truck. It was just surprised when they were all gone. I was like, you mother.
No, right.
While we were in Red Wing, they were having their Croc Fest, Emmy. You could have looked for a new one.
I know, but now
They were everywhere. Remember, they had that whole parking lot by the museum, and that is, I did not realize what a collectible those would be.
It's huge.
And boy, are they looked over. I mean, people have just an obsession. And it's a good thing to collect, I think.
Mm-hmm.
they're big and they're
Yeah,
heavy and
yeah.
they're farm-like looking to me.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're kind of country
Yes.
looking.
Yeah, they're country
but
looking.
Yeah.
So,
That was cool, though.
favorites around Red Wing? What'd you love, Emmy?
I loved the little grocery store, and you might have to help me out with the name.
Buchanan's.
Thank you. Gosh, Lois just knows all the things that we went into, and it was kind of like a last-minute add-on story of this small little family-owned grocery store that was celebrating over 100 years in business, and it's just the cutest little thing. What did they have? 3 aisles.
Yeah, let's be honest why you loved it.
Why?
She got bratwurst.
Well, yes. I mean, I love to eat, and they were, of course, like, oh, we're going to make you something. And I'm like, oh, you don't have to do that. In my head, I'm like, thank you so
Make
much,
it.
because I was hoping you would say this.
What did they make you?
A little, like, was it a whole bratwurst?
Yeah, bratwurst sandwich.
bratwurst.
Yeah. Make
Right.
it themselves, all that. It was fun.
She hands it out, and I think she handed it out with, like, nothing on it. And I was like, wait, could I just send that a little, get some kraut or
can't wait to see
onion,
it.
mustard? No,
What
it
about
was-
you,
it was
Jeff?
darling.
I was hoping that the boots and shoes would be my favorite, but it turned out that we couldn't get into the factory,
Right.
which was kind of surprising to me.
Yeah.
Because as everybody knows, that I love the industry stuff.
Yes.
To get into a factory, to get into where they're making stuff that touches all of our lives is always something that I love to do. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to be sewing laces today.
Right.
'Cause they wouldn't let us in. They let us in the store, and then they kept wanting us to buy stuff. I was like, come on, we're here. So they had the archivist talk to us, who was, I mean, fine. She was fine
great, yeah.
enough.
They have a museum that's in the store upstairs, so you can see all the history. And
And
that's
they have the
where
giant boot.
Yeah, and the giant boot, which
Cute.
everybody in the world, if you've been to Red Wing, has a picture of your kids or somebody with the giant
Right,
boot.
right.
I was told that when we get to Red Wing, Minnesota, I will see the biggest boot I will ever see in my whole life. And I'm wondering if it's a big boot.
This is Iconic Classic.
What size is this, do we know?
638 and a half.
Is it?
Don't forget the half. Yes.
Red Wing Shoe Company is an icon brand in this community.
Yeah.
Well, they wouldn't let us in the Spam Museum because we're not sure what they're hiding. But so
No, the factory.
question is,
We got in the Spam Museum.
right?
but-
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Yes, the Spam factory. So what are they hiding in the Red Wing factory that we can't see? That's what I want to know. Can we do an
Proprietary
expose?
stuff. Proprietary. No, because they won't let us in.
I bet if you had called, they would have let us in.
Oh
Emmy.
yeah. That was the problem.
So you were hoping for the boots, you said, but so what did end up being your favorite
The
thing?
bakery.
Oh, of course. Of course.
What was the guy's name? Do you remember the guy's
Billy.
name? Billy?
Uh-huh,
Wow.
Hanisch.
He was really, and it's so funny how when we get the notes on this, that Billy was kind of reserved. But
Because when Emily and I went in and did the site survey back in March or whatever, we went into the store and Billy was very friendly, but again, kind of reserved. You have to realize that bakery is so famous that he gets a lot of media coming in there going, oh, we want to do this, we want to do that. So when just my, producer Emily Annunziata and I walked in there, he was just kind of like, oh boy, here's another one. And it wasn't until you came, John, that, we had our cameras and all that stuff on the shoot, but when you came, then it was like you guys clicked and it was really fun.
I think from the time that you got there, then he did some research and watched some episodes,
Yeah.
because when I got there, he was wide open
Yeah,
and
and
ready
fun
to play and ready
yeah.
for anything. And he had his worker help me decorate. Well, his worker ended up being his ex-wife
No.
and still partner. In
And we
the
were trying to figure out, how does this work? But in the end, it just worked into really beautiful cookies. So that's
It
all
did,
that
and she everything he said. She was like, you could, and since this is a podcast, you can't see me rolling my eyes, but that's what she did. She was like, oh, geez. They spent their entire marriage her going, oh, geez.
Wow.
And yet that was so, obviously they work well together and it was really fun. And it was one of those places you don't forget because, again, you had frosting in your hand.
Right.
You tried your best. You really did.
Not so
I
bad. That's a, you know,
We'll let the audience be
it's-
the judge.
It's something that you get good at the longer you do it. So I did it for 7 minutes. So shut up. I just
Right, I
didn't-
guess you weren't good at it yet.
Yeah.
No,
Good
probably
point.
not.
And the history of that bakery and the deep roots in that community and how it was a tiny little place that then
Pirius, it was called Pirius Bakery.
it extended. They bought next door, and now he just finished buying the place on the other side of him. He's
Yeah.
extending into there. He provides bakery and bread for all of the grocery stores in the market, and it was great. And he was a really good guy.
I feel like when you go into these communities, and you know, even with the research that we do, the best tell of if a place is going to be good is if there is a packed parking lot of cars, or if there's a line out the door. And when I went in after you got done making your cookies, I
Yeah.
was like, okay, well, I didn't get any cookies, so I'm going to stand in line. I mean, there was probably 25 people in line. It's like that's you know you just found gold.
Right. And he closes, I think, at 4, and we got in there at 3. And so by the time we were wrapping up, the door was closed and locked, and there were people. I said, there are people out there, and he's like, too bad. It's 4:03.
Don't make eye contact.
Close the
Right.
blinds.
Right. And I said, but you still have a lot of bakery. He said, it'll sell in the morning because second day goes quick.
Oh, right.
It was good. It was good.
The other thing I remember about Red Wing is when we did the research, it has the tightest turn on the Mississippi. Did you know that?
Oh,
The tightest turn on the Mississippi for boats. So when Emily and I were deciding what should be in this episode, we really wanted to find a tugboat operator because those giant barges that you see, if you spend any time on the Mississippi, you see these barges going up and down, and you see that turn there. And you really got to wonder. I was like, okay, I understand a lock and dam system, but how are they going to get around this corner?
Yeah.
And so, what a thrill to find somebody who would let us on his boat and
boat.
show us how they push those barges around
Right.
that,
That's
you know,
cool.
that turn. That was really cool. It was the first time. You know, we've done a lot of these shows. It's the first time we've been on a tugboat, and that was really an interesting thing
He
for
was
me.
fun too.
He was a good.
He was
they're
fun
all
where
good
he was.
people.
Since this is what we do for a living, it's weird to find people who are so kind of like nervous around all of it. Like this guy was just like, I don't want to do this. Don't make me do this.
Yeah, and it lasted for 2 minutes, and then he starts talking about his business
Right.
and his, you know, his not only his profession but his love for what he does,
Right.
and that goes away really, really quickly. But yeah, it is. We forget, you know, we're the
Yeah.
ones walking around with the cameras, and we're like, well, just talk to us, and they're like freaked out.
Right.
But he turned into be such a sweet guy and a good interview, and
Well, you can kind of relate because when you get around boats, you kind of feel that same way.
that's
Right?
called nausea, Emmy.
Yeah, it's about the same. I don't get nervous. I just get sick.
You weren't sick on that boat, though.
No.
That boat was
Well,
fine. It's big boats. You're good on big boats. Little
Right.
boats, not so much. And it was calm, so I wouldn't have put you on there if I thought you were going to throw up.
Oh, don't lie out loud to our friends here.
I did
You
say I
will,
wouldn't
if it's
beg.
good for the show, you'll make me do it, whether I puke after or not.
Depends what
Big
time of day it is.
liar.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong, and that's what makes you so good, Lois.
Well, here's something that wasn't good. So on day one, Brian and I go, my shooter, Brian Minton, and I go the day before you guys even come. So we have an entire day in the community where we shoot what we call B-roll, all the scenics, the beautiful stuff that paints the picture. It could be the downtown, it can be, and of course in Red Wing, we're on the Mississippi River. One of the segments that we did was with the Prairie Island community, and the Prairie Island Indian community has not only their reservation there, they have brought the buffalo back. And it's a really awesome story. So Brian and I went the day before, and they drove us into the midst of the buffalo, and we were flying the drone. And can I tell you, from a drone's perspective, it looks like the West, and the buffalo are running. And I was like, oh my God, this is gold. And the people were so great.
Can't wait to see it.
Well, just wait. We go down to the river.
You're going to have to wait.
You're going to have to wait a long time because then we went down to the Mississippi and we're flying the drone. Now there's trains and that. I shoot with actually with my cell phone a lot of the times. And so I'm off by the train depot and Brian's down by the river. And so we separate and then we just find each other and say, okay, are you done? And he comes, I saw the look on his face. He's walking down the river and he's got his controller and I'm like, what? And he said, it's gone. I said, what do you mean? the drone is gone. And he said, Lo, he said, I'm over the river and I'm looking at it. I look down at my controller to make sure. I look back up. It's not there.
Wow.
We have, to this day, absolutely no idea what happened to it. But Brian and I spent the next 2 hours trying to find it. Talk about a needle in a haystack. If it went down in the water, you're done.
That's
but if
where it
it
went.
took off and just kind of kept going, that battery could last. I'm like, okay, let's figure out, let's see, it would have lasted another 15 minutes. Where would it be?
Canada.
It was a total waste of
Yeah.
time, but oh my God. But when the drone goes down, you don't just lose the drone, you lose the footage on it.
Yeah.
So Brian and I were kind of sick that whole episode. We would just look at each other and be like, oh, I feel sick.
And then you contemplated for how long about going all the way back to Red Wing.
When Red Wing is
and
how far from here? 5 hours?
5 hours and
2 days.
shooting it again. And
Yeah,
I
I
said, you can't. I know how much you are in love with this, but you just can't.
Is there not footage that we can use?
Oh, footage of Red Wing, they were fantastic. The community sent me downtown stuff.
Yeah.
No one has droned the buffalo, ever.
And you know how she is. When she has something or she thinks she can get something that's really good,
Don't make me start.
good enough is not enough. You know, this is how she works.
But I did not go back because that same day we shot all of the drone footage of the buffalo, we shot a ton of B-roll as well. So I have really great buffalo stuff. You're going to see that episode and you're going to say, oh my gosh, that's really great. And there's a lot
Well,
of
we
buffalo
were in the
footage.
middle of the buffalo for a while.
Then we went back with you guys, right?
Right.
The first day, Brian and I just shot with the people there. And then the second day, we took you and did the interview with both the tribal chief and I want to call him the land manager,
That's good. Land manager.
yeah,
The
he was
buffalo herder?
Yeah, he did everything there. And so we did get out there again. But, like I said, when you lose something, you had.
Yeah.
The audience never knew I had it, so they're
Right.
not going to miss it.
Yeah.
But you did.
But I do. And Brian
It's a great
does.
community to visit. One of the what you really should, if you go there, you should go have breakfast at Bev's Cafe. It was supposed to be a stand-up, if you remember, and it was a stand-up. But there's a group of guys who go every morning at 5:30.
Oh, God, I
when it
love them
opens.
already.
And it's a great community right there on the Mississippi. If you want to take a weekend trip to Minnesota, Red Wing is really the place. Go shopping for boots, look for some pottery, have
Take a
breakfast
lot of
at-
pictures in front of those gorgeous flowers.
Yeah.
Or go buy some roller skates. I loved being able to roller skate in the
that's
parking lot.
right.
It was
You
the
got to
first
roller
time
skate.
since 7th grade I've been on a pair of roller skates, and I had more fun. That was a blast.
Yeah.
We have a fan shout out, We do this on every one of these podcasts.
Whoop, whoop.
Today our fan shout out is to a woman from Dodgeville, Wisconsin, which was an episode from last season, and her name is Deb Esch. Deb, thanks so much for following us.
Deb, we love you.
Red Wing, Minnesota, take a visit. It was fun, wasn't it, you guys?
It was great.
Okay.
Loved it.
See ya.
Want to wear something that's going to support your favorite show? Shop at Main Street Store. Proceeds go to help us get next season into production, so come on, go shopping at mainstreets.tv.